Congress approved the bill that reestablishes the bicameralism of the parliament with 98 votes in favor, 23 against, and 1 abstention. So it needs to be approved in the next legislature to go into effect. The Israeli occupation army took possession of the west of Gaza City and starts the next phase of its landside operation. On Thursday, the Kenyan legislature approved the deployment to Haiti of 1,000 members of its police forces who will operate under the auspices of the United Nations. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In Peru, the Congress approved the bill that reestablishes the bicameralism of the parliament with 98 votes in favor, 23 against, and 1 abstention, so it needs to be approved in the next legislature to go into effect. The vote occurs even more than 90% of the populations reject bicameralism in the 2018 referendum, at the same time that more than 90% rejects the current Congress. Congressmen demanded that the text proposed to be voted exclude current congressmen from future elected to the Chamber of Deputies or the senators in the 2026-2021 period. The government of Peru decided to extend for 60 days the state of emergency due to the increase of crimes in the latest 3 jurisdictions in the country. The authorities informed that the measure will be established in the districts of San Juan del Lurigancho and San Martin de Porres, as well as in the provinces of the department of Piura. The measure that was proposed to end on November the 17th was extended due to the request of the mayor of the capital territory and the north of the country. In El Salvador, 34 years have been passed since the massacre perpetrated by the soldiers of the elite at Battalion trained by the U.S. government. These multiple assassinations took place against 6 Jesuits Price and 2 collaborators in the facilities of the José Simón Cañas Central American University in the morning hours of November 16, 1989. For these crimes, the former President Alfredo Cristiani and several members of the High Command of the Armed Forces are currently on trial.
We are here to commemorate the anniversary of the martyrs of the UCA, and with them of all the martyrs of El Salvador. Our celebration is to thank God for the lives of these men and women who understood and made real in their lives the message of Jesus.
The Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador met on Thursday with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in the first official meeting between the presidents and praised bilateral ties. Both head of states are in San Francisco, California for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. The Chinese leader praised López Obrador for his more than 5 years in power leading the Mexican government and the people towards progress, innovation, and making important achievements in the process of national development. The U.S. government approved 2 bills to build a border wall between Texas and Mexico in order to expel undocumented migrants from the territory. The Texas Congress signed a new initiative plan against migrants entering the country illegally, for which it allowed more than $1.5 billion to carry out the construction work in a wooded area. These programs, also known as Show Me Your Papers, give Texans judges the power to issue expulsion orders against foreigners. In the United States, employees of the Starbucks franchise organized a strike the day with the highest sales in a year. Around 200 coffee shops face hour stoppage. Employees took to the streets of Washington City to demand labor and the improvements from the company. The strike, organized by the Workers' Union Labor Union, chose Starbucks' Red Cup Day as it's usually one of the busiest days of the year when dozens of reusable cups are given away to the customers who order holiday drinks. Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back from the south. Wounded Palestinians are treated in Al-Mal hospital in the Yankunis without electricity. The power outages at the health center forced the medical staff to treat those wounded by the Israeli aggressions with the lighting of telephones or torches. The hospital's only generator stopped due to the lack of fuel, which threatens the lives of at least 90 patients. On Wednesday, the authorities reported that the first shipments of fuel arrived. However, the UN assured that the amount of diesel is not sufficient for the operation of the hospital on the water desalination plants. In Palestine, the telecommunication company Paltel Group announced on Thursday the total interruption of communications and internet in the Gaza Strip. The company said it means data centers and switches in Gaza were gradually shutting down due to the fuel shortages relentless loading on batteries. They also condemned that the actions of the Israeli authorities have also included damage to basic communications infrastructure and power outages. The state of Israel continues its side against the Gaza Strip for the 41st consecutive day. The Palestinian people held on Thursday prayers for the 28 people killed during the Israeli aggression on the Al-Aqsa Martyr Hospital in Deir al-Balah. Also, Palestinian authorities report that the Tel Aviv army shelled the refugee camp of Nusayrat and Buryat, leaving several dead and wounded. The Israeli occupation army took possession of the west of the Gaza City and started the next phase of its landside operation. The Israeli Ministry of Defense informed that its operations continue in a precise manner. Humanitarian organizations, however, warned that these military actions seek to continue with the subversion of the civilian population in the Gaza Strip. For the third time in the last 2 days, Israeli forces stormed into the Al-Shifa medical complex in Gaza, taking more than 5,000 hostages, including doctors, nurses, patients, and displaced people. The incident occurred on Thursday evening as hundreds of Israeli occupation soldiers invaded a medical facility, making it the 8th consecutive day of military side. Tel Aviv justified the action with the alleged discovery of Hamas equipment, showing images of soldiers finding computers and some military equipment in the hospital. In the face of the Tel Aviv regime side against the Gaza Strip, 8 Israeli soldiers were killed following a shooting operation in a tunnel checkpoint in the occupied West Bank. In the aftermath, 3 young Palestinian men were shot dead by the Israeli occupation forces. Meanwhile, Hebrew media reported that the move was in response to an alleged attack by the Palestinian gunmen on Israeli soldiers. The Israel regime announced on Thursday the death of 2 of its soldiers during the fight against the Gaza Strip, bringing the total Israeli deaths to 369 since the beginning of the aggression last October 7th. In a statement, Israeli forces stressed that 2 soldiers were killed in the Gaza Strip, while 2 others were seriously wounded. In response, Osama Hamdan, leader of the Hamas resistance movements, Denounced that the Israeli occupation committed a war crime by storming and attacking the whole Shifa medical complex with tanks and point out that the evidence shows is false.
After 20 hours of attacking all the facilities of Al-Shifa hospital, Israel entered the hospital and sought to disrupt the facilities with false evidence of the presence of Hamas. We remind the world, the United Nations, the Red Cross, and all international institutions who know and remain silent about holding the occupation responsible for the crimes of ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza, that Israel exposed all patients to the risk of death, as it did in Al-Rantisi hospital when it eliminated medical personnel by force of arms and left some premature babies to die in cold blood.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said his government has failed complying with the International Criminal Court to investigate war crimes committed by Israel in Gaza. The move comes as South Africans lawmakers are expected to debate on Thursday a motion calling for the closure of the Israeli embassy in South Africa and the cutting of all diplomatic ties with the country until it agrees to a ceasefire. The government of Venezuela issued a statement to repudiate the actions of the President of Israel against the people of Palestine and his words against the Latin American countries that defend the Palestinian cause. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela expressed its repudiation of the cynical remark made by the President of Israel, who has shamelessly criticized the dignified position taken by Latin American countries, including Venezuela, regarding the genocide committed by his country against the noble Palestinian people. Venezuela reminds the presidents of the State of Israel that his acts go far beyond the limits of decency and respect and constitute themselves into war crimes and crimes against humanity, which sooner or later will be judged under the international law. While, of course, Israel must cease its indiscriminate attacks on the civilian population and must stop the systematic massacre it commits against the Palestinian people, especially women and children. The Venezuelan government joins the demonstrations of numerous Latin American countries who have called for an immediate ceasefire and condemned Israel's policy of Nazi extermination against the Palestinian people. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch on interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. Guinea-Bissau celebrated the 50th anniversary of its independence. The celebration also honored the 50th anniversary of the creation of the armed forces and the centenary of the birth of Amílcar Cabral, hero of the independence of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu participated in the commemoration. Along with other heads of states and governments, they joined the celebration in Bissau, the country's capital. Vote counting is underway in Madagascar after the first round in the country's highly contested presidential elections held on Thursday. The counting is being held in violent protests after 10 out of the 12 opposition candidates called for citizens to boycott the vote, saying the conditions for the elections had not been met. The president of the Malagasy National Assembly, Christine Razanamassoad, asserts that her mediation platform and warns of the turbulence that will be caused by the organizations of these elections.
The platform had always warned of the disturbance that would be caused by the organization of this election, which did not respect the law in force or the recommendations and advice issued by the institutions. To be a crime instead would perhaps be a crime for everyone to meditate on what we've experienced today and to question it. That's why hope is not that.
On Thursday, the Kenyan legislature approved the deployment to Haiti of 1,000 members of its police forces who will operate under the auspices of the United Nations in the turbulent Caribbean country plunged into chaos. And the gangs of common criminal control 80% of Port-au-Prince, Haiti's capital. The Vice President of the Kenyan Parliament, Gladys Bose-Sholin, announced the success of the motion authorizing the deployment of the police forces after a voice vote, insufficient, however, to initiate a transfer and deployment of the policemen. The NGO Save the Children announced on Thursday that at least 111 people, including 16 children, have died and 700,000 have been displaced by flood caused in recent weeks by torrential rains in the Horn of Africa. The El Niño climatic phenomenon is amplifying the rainy season in the region, affecting Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya in particular. The Horn of Africa is one of the most vulnerable regions to climate change, and extreme weather events are occurring with increased frequency and intensity. In China, a fire has left at least 26 people dead and more than 70 injured. The fire started on Thursday morning at the headquarters of a coal plant belonging to the Yanyu company located in the northern province of Shanxi. The authorities activated the operation to rescue the people who were still in the facilities. Meanwhile, they evacuated about 70 people, 73 of whom were taken to local hospitals. And we have come to the end of this news brief, but before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We're pleased to share our newscast and contribute to provide alternative news sources of the latest world events. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and also on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For telesur English and from the South, I'm Marrero. Thank you for watching.